we have the human eraser himself, Luke Schenn, freshly minted Toronto Maple Leafs. Once again, this thing's come full circle, baby. How are you doing, Luke?
Doing great. Thanks for having me back on the show, I should say. I was probably one of your first guests at the start of the year, wasn't I? And you were trying to pressure me into giving you some Leaf tidbits and asking about back, weren't you?
I was testing out your media training, and you handled yourself just as we expected, giving us nothing but, oh baby, how the tides have turned. You are back in a Maple Leaf uniform. I know you enjoyed everything and your time with Vancouver and everything else, but we thought that there was a possibility you'd be a good fit in a Toronto Maple Leafs uniform again. Now that that's actually happened, man, what is it like to be back in the big smoke? What are the memories you have, some of the familiarities, the faces you see? What's it like to be back there and kind of come full circle?
It's unbelievable, honestly. I mean, it's actually hard to believe coming back, obviously being drafted here and just kind of what this organization means to me personally, where it all started. I think as a young guy, you appreciate wearing the jersey and what it means, but not to the extent I do now. And that just goes with, the experience with your career and having just a better appreciation of what it means to wear the blue and white. It's just, that's incredible that, like you said, to come full circle. And I was young and naive, 18 to 22 years old or whatever my time I was spent here. Now to kind of come back here as an older guy, you just have a different sense of what it means. And in saying that too, I never got the chance to play meaningful hockey here in terms of playoffs or nothing like that. My first go around, it seems like we're always out of it, by All-Star break or whatever. So now to be back here and at the best time of the year and kind of feel the buzz around the city, it feels great. And get to play back in the old barn where you built, right? So I'm still waiting for that Rosehill jersey to get up in the rafters. When's your big day? I don't know. Hopefully it's coming soon.
Well, that statue, they must be making like an extra big one or a fancy one, because I wasn't there on Legends Row when I went to watch a game. That thing's taking forever, but I mean, inevitably it will be there, and people will flock to see it. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I actually did buzz around Maple Leaf Square the other day, and there is quite a big hole in the middle of it. Probably be a good choice to put it right there, right in the middle of Maple Leaf Square, the big 38 jersey. Jay Rosehill, for all your contributions to the Leafs.
I'm sorry to say the only Jay Rosehill jersey available is the one behind Rosie's Haynes sweater. There, his Haynes t-shirt is right there on the wall right there. But Schenner, thank you so much for doing this, buddy. Congratulations again on having the baby too. That's probably what I would have let it, Rosie, but it's okay. You're taking notes here on that. Nah, we don't talk about families on this show. Take us behind the scenes. February 28th, the trade goes down. What happens behind the scenes? I think a lot of people want to know that. Like, is it Patrick Allvin calling, hey, like, pack your shit, you're going to Toronto?
Yeah, I had my shit packed for a while. I was sitting out for 2 weeks.
True.
So, no, I mean, obviously I kind of knew based on where Vancouver is at in the standings, for probably about a month or two before it happened. And then I flew with the Canucks to Nashville, and I was in the lineup, and all of a sudden a pregame meal, Patrick Allvin and Rick Tocchet came and grabbed me and just said, hey, you're going to sit this one out tonight. And obviously a little bit confused, thinking there was a trade that was probably in the works sooner than later. And they just said, no. I mean, obviously they're getting a couple calls, and just for, I don't know, it seemed to be the way the NHL was going this year, where you hold guys up for trade reasons. So I was kind of one of those guys, and it was 2 weeks till the deadline and 5 games. So I kind of was like, well, is this until the deadline? And they're like, yeah, you're not going to play another game until it happens. So I flew back to Vancouver, and you joke about packing your shit up, but you don't know what you're packing. You don't know where you're going. You don't know if you're going, somewhere cold and you need a Canada Goose jacket, or you're packing your, shorts and flip flops. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to kind of get organized, but yeah, I went back and just started skating with the Canucks skills coach, and did that for a week and a half, and then got traded, and then joined the team in Calgary on their West Coast trip, the Leafs, and played there, and then in Vancouver, which is back home, and then got a couple under my belt, and then they were nice enough to, given the family situation with my wife being due, to let me stick around Vancouver for a bit. And they actually left, their skills coach in Vancouver with me, and we rented ice at UBC and skated with him one-on-one for about a week. So not a lot of game time there, and I guess about a month or so, but everything worked out great that way. And now, just trying to work myself back into it here and get up to speed with the team, and really enjoying being back.
Luke, touch for us on that locker room right now, that roster, what you guys have got ahead of you. You're no stranger to teams making big playoff pushes, two-time Stanley Cup champion. Obviously, you've got that experience under your belt, but what's going on in that locker room for the listeners as far as what the preparation is like? Are you guys talking about the Lightning? What kind of video are you watching? Is this all prep for the playoffs, or are you guys still taking her day by day?
Well, I think it's both. I mean, you're obviously aware of who's going to be coming most likely in the first round. I mean, they've known that for a while, so I mean that's not a surprise. So yeah, that's obviously, it's, you try not to let your mind wander, but in saying that, there's still a process in order to get there. So you do take it sort of, you want to be in the present and go day at a time, which is cliche, but in order to get your game to the level it needs to be at in the first round, you need to make sure you're working on the things daily and making sure your game's in a good spot and get better leading into the playoffs. So I think, we're trying to, focus on continue to defend well and limit opportunities. And, we've had some leads where, we got to continue to bear down and protect those leads. But there's no question it's a process going into the playoffs. We got, a handful of games left, and you want to make sure you're feeling good about yourself and confident heading in there. And not to get ahead of yourself too much, but the guys who you're going to be playing have some experience and know what it takes too. So we're going to have to be at the top of our game leading into that, and that all starts with like you said, it's practice habits and working on the details, and then every game you want to be sharp and making sure that your mindset and your systems and all that stuff is dialed in.
Here's the big time question. Did you guys get the green light special on Monday after you clinched the playoff spot?
The green light special? No, actually, well, because we had a day off Monday, and then so yeah, we played Saturday, Sunday, day off Monday, and we found out we were clinched basically when we were at home, and there was actually no real celebration. But I guess Sheldon Keefe acknowledged it the next day in her video session, saying, well, it's something to be proud of. Obviously, it's not the end goal, but that was pretty much all the recognition that we got. No one even really talked about it. It wasn't anything that guys got fired up about. I think there's higher expectations about here. Obviously it's you got to be proud of yourself when you clinch a playoff spot with 9 or 10 games remaining, or however many it was. That's no small feat when teams are battling it out till the end for wild cards and different things like that. But in saying that, definitely guys got higher hopes for sure. So no, guys didn't send it. That's what you're asking after that.
That might have happened on Sunday, but Luke, you talked a little bit as you were going through the ringer. There was so many different moving parts, and you and your family were put in a position that was, just basically lit your hair on fire, and you're trying to organize everything at the worst possible time as your wife's just about due to have her third baby there. But you kind of touched on it when we were texting, but the Maple Leafs organization, and you've been in a couple different organizations now throughout your career. Talk a little bit to the people who follow this team religiously, what it's like to play for them. I remember, how first class they were, how they treated their players, how money wasn't an issue if you're going to do something that's going to help the team or an individual, how they teach the families, and you got thrown right back into it. And touched a little bit about that MLSE in general and just what kind of an organization they are.
You know what, Jay, it was really good when we played, and it's 100 times better now, like how they treat the families. Like, that's how good it is. I mean, obviously, when I first came into the league, you don't know anything else. So you're like, well, this is the NHL and this is normal. But in reality, it's not, because you go to other organizations, and not that other organizations are bad. It's all, good, and it's the NHL, but it's definitely the next level. So, I mean, yeah, they've been treating our family unbelievable. And I think that's the one thing you hit. That's one thing that doesn't go underappreciated as far as how they treat wives and the families and the kids, and making sure everyone's, arranged. And they got someone literally that's their job is to make sure the families are all taken care of. And yeah, they've done an unbelievable job helping, finding us a place to live and getting everything's organized, to shipping stuff, to, making sure everyone's comfortable. Obviously with my wife, giving birth, it's just family's definitely a priority here, which you appreciate as a player, because that eases your mind when you go into worrying about hockey games and practices, when the family's taken care of. And like I said, they have a lady here who does literally just works with, families and wives. So she's texting, Jess on the side, making sure that everything's good and taken care of. And it almost kind of, eliminates me and some of the stress that, you'd have to typically deal with. So first class, and, couldn't have got traded to a better spot for sure.
There's been tons of experimentation, as you know, lately. What are your general thoughts on the D rotation? And it seems like you've settled in a bit here with Morgan Riley lately.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely been, like you said, experimentation. Obviously, you got 9 NHL defensemen, which I'm sure, teams would love to have that depth. And yeah, I think everyone's just trying to work through it. I mean, as far as defensemen, I'm sure coaches are looking for different options and pairings, and a lot of the nights we're going 7D, which is a transition in itself for obviously guys who have been here all year. Before we got here, they're rolling 6 most nights, so it's a transition for them, and then it's a transition for guys coming in here trying to see where you fit in too. So I think it's been some trial and error. I think there's been some positivity coming out of all the different looks we've had, but there's no question that guys are going to want to continue to build and get comfortable with one another heading down the stretch here with not too many games left. And we'll just kind of see where things shake out. Obviously, there's been some different looks, and at the end of the day, it's coach's decision to see how everything plays out.
What's changed the most behind the scenes since like your first tour of duty? Obviously, like it's pretty crazy how quickly time goes. Like I was even reminiscing on your time, like you were just a pup when you started, and now you come in, and I'm not going to call you a vet. We're around the same age, but like you played some games in the league. I'm not a vet either, dude. You played some games in the league, but what's it like sort of from that perspective, and what's changed maybe behind the scenes that you're not used to?
Well, first of all, we both are vets. So let's clear that up. You are too.
Damn it.
Get up there. No, but honestly, just I don't know. It's a lot of it's the same, but there's some different things. Like first of all, none of the staff is left from when I was here. So besides 2 of the equipment staff, Bobby Hastings and Blackie too. So everyone else is gone. There's really no management. Maybe 1 or 2 people higher up. So none of the staff is the same. That's, trainers, coaches, all that. None of the players are the same. But as far as, the overall operation, it's just kind of gotten a lot better. And not, like I said, it was before, but just kind of how dialed in they are with everything from, how they take care of guys from supplements, nutrition, to the proper rest and the sports science, to that sort of stuff too. It's just, literally everything is so dialed in to be at your best, where it really gives you no excuse that there's so many people taking care of you that you really have to go out there and just your only thing is to focus on being a hockey player.
Yeah. Is that Jesse Gillespie in the background?
No, it's Roldan. What? Get up. What,
Kinger. Was hoping that was Jess. I want to see what she's wearing. It's always a treat for a guy like me when she comes into the room. What's the problem? Lukey, we're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning first round here, man. You're no stranger to that organization.
Hey, Jay, that's the first time I've seen the Zacks come out of you.
What's the problem? Kindness.
He's still talking about Ryan O'Reilly's wife. We'll just say that, okay?
Oh, who wouldn't? Back on track here, you monsters. Lukey, you got the Tampa Bay Lightning first round. You're no stranger to them. Are you using your veteran presence? You know what their tendencies are. You know how they're coached. You know what to expect come out of the gate. Are you using that veteran presence you have to kind of explain to these guys what to expect, what their tendencies are? Have you gotten to that point? It's kind of a crucial thing to have you in the locker room, being as you've got 2 rings with this organization very recently.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, haven't really got to that point yet, but there's no question that, those guys know what they're doing as far as winning hockey games at the right time. Obviously, they got probably the best goalie on the planet. Very well coached. They make a lot of great in-game, in-series adjustments. That's one thing, obviously Coop's great at is, getting the pulse of where things are at, and guys respond to that. And then obviously you got such a good core there too, where, you got Hedman and Stammer and Cooch and Pointer, all these guys too. And, you add in, like you said, the experience of winning and them understanding and know what it takes. And even saw them last year. I mean, I watched from a distance, you know, not being in the series or with the team last year, but just kind of how they sacrificed in the playoffs. So, you know, blocking shots and, you know, they figured out that defending wins. So they take great pride in that. And then you got a dangerous power play and just, you know, they're kind of built all around. They're built to win. They obviously they've lost some guys over the year due to salary cap and all that stuff, but Julian Breeslaw is pretty good at, you know, restock and everything and finding guys on good contracts and, you know, doesn't care what he gives up to bring him in. So yeah, they're a contender every year. And yeah, it's going to be a great challenge as usual. And you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, but obviously, you know, both teams know what's coming.
Yeah, they gave away like 17 picks for Tanner Jeannot, and we'll see if that works out. First and foremost, wicked stretch pass to Mitch Marner against Florida. I had to rewind the tape. I wasn't sure if it was you or Justin Hall, but that was you. Filthy pass, dude. And it leads me to the conversation about Tomas Kaberle. So I don't know how this story came out, but you found out and figured out he was your neighbor. So how's that relationship brewing these days?
Great neighbor. Actually, what happened was I don't even know how it happened, but word spreads, I guess, in a hurry, especially in Toronto. And I got a text from a random number, and it's like, "Hey, Luke, it's Cabby here, and we're neighbors or whatever." And I haven't talked to him because, you know, when I was here, we were D partners, and he was such a good veteran guy to me and treated me with you know, great deal of respect. And I looked up to him too, and really tried to learn off him. But obviously, you know, you go your separate ways. He got traded, I get traded. We haven't really kept in touch. And he obviously got my number from someone and texted me. And sure enough, we're across the street. So I've actually been texting him probably every other day, and he's been awesome. I actually went over to his house this morning, and I had to borrow a couple of street hockey sticks off him. So yeah, he's it's crazy. I mean, of all the people living in Toronto, to have him right across the street, and you know, it's not like I bought a house here with the intention. I'm in a rental, so he's been great. His wife's awesome. She's reached out to my wife too, and they got some kids as well. So yeah, it'll be great to get everyone together. And I mean, it's crazy. It's such a busy schedule, especially this time of the year, that, you know, you'd love to see them more and more. But what a small world. I can't believe it. You know, I'd see date back where I first met him and played with him as a partner 15 years ago. And here we are, neighbors. And he hasn't played, I think he told me 10 years or something like that. It's been since he's done. So yeah, it's crazy. So
You got to check out his restaurant.
I've already been. Actually, you know what? I went to the grand opening of it.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a long time ago. And I went to it the other night too. And yeah, it's unbelievable. It's incredible. Hidden gem of the city.
So good. Rosie, have you been?
No, I haven't.
You don't get
I
invites to
just
stuff like
jumped
that.
on Luke's coattails there, and he took me to all the muck spots. I couldn't keep track. It was just one after another, just flying by me, just Desi's all over the place. Lukey and his brother, just the toast of the town as far as restaurants.
Jay liked to keep her simple though. He like a big Moxies guy. You like Moxies, didn't you, Jay?
I like to moxicize myself once in a while.
You met your wife there, didn't you?
just about, actually. No, my wife's an Earl's girl. I would just bring my Chipotle bowl into Earl's and muck that while we chatted. So worked out for the best.
Your future, got to ask about that. Are you open to re-signing in Toronto? You knew that question was coming.
I actually didn't know it was coming, but I mean, hey, yeah, of course. I mean, I love Toronto. And saying that, I think there's, you know, obviously other priorities right now, and first is, you know, winning some games, and you know, the rest will take care of itself. You know, the one thing you realize is when you win, everyone has opportunities to you know, to do well. So I mean, that's the main priority. I haven't really thought much of it, but of course, I love Toronto. I've always said that. I loved it here my first time. I love it here again. It's a great organization, great city, passionate fan base. You know, good bunch of guys in the room. There's nothing not to love about it. But yeah, we'll see. That'll take care of itself down the road. The one thing I'm not good at doing is predict in the future. Every time I think I'm not getting traded, I get traded, or I think I'm going to end up here, I end up somewhere else. So who the heck knows? But there's no question I love every bit of it here.
Well, Jay Rosehill predicted a 7-year deal extension with the Leafs. So there you go. He predicts everything here on this show, right, Rosie?
Oh, man.
I want to see Luke deep into his 40s, still headman in that puck like crazy.
7-year deal. What's your agent feel? How are you right now, Jay?
I would like a piece of that if you get it. I mean, the promotion you're getting on this show is through the roof, so don't forget about the young fellas, right?
What's your guys' listeners these days? How many are we going to racking up thousands per show, or where are we at?
It's getting
What are
up
the
there.
ratings?
Maybe we think we had $100,000 in a month there the other month.
Yeah,
People are starting to take notice.
Rosie's not analytics guy. You know this. I handle that portion of the program. He brings the heat. He brings the fantastic guests. But yeah, there was a time around deadline time. We thought we were insiders, throwing some insight out there a bit. We got some hits, but I think we're up to 1.2 thousand subs. So we're making our way up there. And of course, Frank Sarvalli's been helping out with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you guys are doing great. I mean, I've been following, obviously, you know, follow Jay and stuff on Instagram. You guys are doing great. So keep it up. You guys are the hottest show in town, in my opinion.